Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear. So I think it was yesterday I was listening to Paris Milan's video, and she was talking about the pro-Black community here on YouTube. And one of the things that she mentioned during her discussion was this issue of being pro-Black and wearing weaves and stuff like that. And that prompted me or inspired me to do this particular video right here. And I'm just going to get right into it. And the question, as you can see from the title, is can you be pro-Black and wear weave? Now, before I even get into this, of course, I know that there are more important issues than what kind of hairstyle a woman chooses to have. As you all know, I regularly talk about very important issues, issues involving, for instance, the Supreme Court, issues involving politics, racism, discrimination against our people, all kinds of things, police brutality, inner city violence. So I talk about very important issues all the time. So before anyone comes here with that, there are more important matters to talk about deflection. I'm just here to tell you that that doesn't fly with me because I'm not one of these people that talk about hairstyles and weaves and all that kind of stuff to begin with. I rarely talk about this particular issue. So let's get that straight. Shout out to Big Game Orenthal. Thanks for tuning in. So I wanted to get this out first, the fact that, of course, I talk about other issues, so don't come at me with that. The other thing that I want to get out of the way is this, it's very obvious that, I can't judge somebody solely based on superficial things, based on the hairstyle, but I'm going to get into it in depth because you do have some people, for instance, that have natural hair that, swirl, who betray the community, who straight up sell out and stuff like that. So I'm not saying the hair in and of itself defines politics or whatever. But let's go into the definition of what it means to be pro-Black, because I think that nowadays anything flies. Nowadays there are no standards or anything like that. Anybody can get up on here and start talking a whole bunch of stuff and automatically they're classified as being pro-Black, when in fact they really are not truly pro-Black when you get into it. So let's go into the definition. First I'm going to go to the word pro, as I did in my last video, and just go through some of the definitions for pro. So if you can bear with me 1 second, I'll get into that. I'll share my screen so that you can see it. And this really should be obvious at this point. So pro means favoring, supporting, and championing. And let's go to the definition of championing, what it actually means. And it means to support the cause of, and it also means defend. So when you go into what it means to be pro-Black, there are levels to pro-Blackness, just like there are levels of understanding, levels of development, and people go through development in stages. And I'll just say this off the top. You can't truly be fully pro-Black if you are wearing a weave. And I'm going to explain how. First of all, to be pro-Black means that you are favoring your own. You are supporting your own. You are championing your own. And, one of the key things about having self-respect and supporting your own is supporting African features, natural African features, supporting African lips, the shape of our lips, the type of hair that grows out of our head, the type of skin that we have, the type of noses that we have. Embracing that, embracing our Blackness, the totality of our Blackness, not being ashamed of it, not having any kind of doubt about our own African features. That's what it means to be pro-Black. That's part of what it means. When you are pro-Black, you are not ashamed of who you are. You're not trying to bleach your skin or change your hair or change your complexion or any of that stuff or get plastic surgery. You're not doing that. So, for instance, imagine somebody that bleaches their skin, getting up here on YouTube talking about they're pro-Black when they are actually destroying their skin so that they can look more and more white. How is that pro-Black? And the same is true with respect to hair. If you truly love and appreciate your African identity, then why not embrace the totality of that? Why not embrace the natural hair that grows out of your head? Why not if you are truly pro-Black? Why do you find the need? And I'm not talking to any person in particular with this particular comment. Why would you find the need to spend hundreds of dollars purchasing hair from China and India? And, spending that money and then gluing it on top of your own hair or weaving it in to your natural hair. By doing that, you're saying something. You are sending a message that's loud and clear. Despite any kind of rhetoric you're talking on YouTube, you are conveying a message that your hair is not as beautiful as it is when you attach somebody else's hair to it. You're saying that your own hair is not as beautiful as it is when you put in foreign hair, when you pay somebody else for somebody else's hair. This is not somebody, like, for instance, buying black hair, or buying hair that resembles African hair. This is somebody literally purchasing foreign hair that doesn't resemble anything coming out of West Africa, where most of us are from. Hair that more likely resembles European style hair than it does African hair. You can't do that and call yourself pro-Black. You can't do it as a Black person. That just doesn't make sense for you to try to be something other than yourself while at the same time professing to be pro-Black. It doesn't add up. Ultimately, it doesn't add up. Now, there are other levels to being pro-Black. We talked about one of those things in the prior video that I just did today. Black love is a part of being pro-Black, loving your Black self and your Black people, in the full sense, loving Black relationships, building Black relationships, building Black families and Black communities. That's a key element of Black love and Black pride and being pro-Black. And then, one of the most important things is supporting the movement for justice for Black people, for equality for Black people, and for empowerment of Black people. So there are three components to this. And of course, somebody can speak on Black issues and have a weave. Of course, somebody can be involved in protest and have a weave and all that kind of stuff. So to a degree, they are pro-Black to some degree, but they are not fully evolved in pro-Black consciousness. They are still struggling with issues of self-hatred, even if they are involved in movements, even if they are involved in a Black relationship or whatever. If you still find the need to purchase foreign hair so that you can look other than yourself, that means that you are still struggling with self-hatred issues and you are still not fully evolved into true pro-Blackness. And all of us have work to do. The programming of this society is profound and deep. So it takes time for people to eventually break those shackles of mental slavery. So that's part of it. That's part of the struggle. As I was listening to the sister's video, she was equating weave with femininity, as if there's something masculine about natural Black hair. Natural women wearing their natural hair, as if that's not woman-like. And that goes back to what I was saying in my last video. I mean, we have been programmed to equate these European features with what it means to be a woman. We equate long, straight hair with womanhood, with femininity. And, this is part of this is, obviously due to the programming in society, but it's also due to the reaction of a lot of men. A lot of Black men have been programmed to believe that long, straight hair is more beautiful than natural Black hair, despite the rhetoric that people say on here. Because you'll notice that people's reactions are different, based on the nature of the woman's hair. If her hair is long and straight and looks, similar to white women's hair or whatever, people are more, like a lot of black men are more attracted to that because they have been programmed to embrace that as femininity, to believe that that's the standard of beauty. So naturally, when black women see that that's what the black men are gravitating towards, they're going to change their appearance to try to attract them. And also, it even goes deeper than that. A lot of women try to impress each other as well. So it's not just about placating to the black man or whatever. It's also about trying to outshine black women, or to impress fellow black women and stuff like that. And it's just a shame that we are still struggling with these issues of self-hatred. Even people that are woke to some degree, who understand the psychological damage that's been done to us as a people. I mean, Malcolm X asked a profound question. I mean, he said, who taught you to hate yourself? Who taught you to hate your skin complexion? Who taught you to hate your natural hair? And we know that this is rooted in self-hatred. We understand this. That's undeniable. We know in the black community, you have these definitions of quote unquote good hair and bad hair. And we all know how bad hair is defined. Bad hair is what's called nappy hair. Bad hair is anything that resembles, African hair, curly hair and all that kind of stuff. That's called nappy. That's called kinky. It's called, it's referred to in a negative light. People say you got bad hair and this and that. Still struggling with these issues. This bad hair thing, this whole indoctrination when it comes to natural African hair is very similar to the colorism issues that our people face. The more you resemble traditional African features, the more ugly you are considered to be in this society. You have beautiful black women who are stigmatized because of the color of their skin, because their skin is darker. Somehow they're viewed as being less desirable or less feminine or, less attractive. That's how this society has programmed us. So we have to deal with these issues. We have to confront these issues. And it's not about confronting these individuals. It's about, reaching a point where our people evolve in our psychology, man, where we learn to love ourselves as we are, instead of trying to chase after white definitions of beauty, white definitions of what it means to be a woman or what it means to be a man. And we need to confront these people when they want to try to silence these legitimate questions by questioning a man's masculinity. That's a way to shame people into silence. That's a way to punk people out. And a lot of people buy that stuff. They go for it. And the bottom line is these are very real issues. I think that it does speak to a pathology that our people have, that they are willing to spend hundreds of dollars to purchase foreign hair and sew it into their hair or glue it on their head because they are so ashamed about the natural hair that grows out of their head. I could understand somebody, for instance, if they're losing their hair, they get a wig or, they get some kind of, extensions or something like that to, protect their scalp or to make themselves appear more beautiful. But why does it have to be hair that is bone straight, that does not resemble your natural features at all? I mean, I understand when women have the African cornrows, that's part of African tradition and all that kind of stuff. That's fine. But why do we have to look like somebody completely different from ourselves in order to have any kind of self-esteem, to feel good about ourselves, to, for a woman to feel beautiful or feminine and stuff like that? And, I just have to ask that question, man. And it's not to call anybody out or anything like that. It's just to raise a legitimate question. I mean, if you truly love your natural hair, why do you have to purchase some foreign hair and put it on top of your own natural hair, covering up your real hair and displaying somebody else's hair? I mean, can you imagine white women running around here, covering up their hair and wearing afros? And you do have situations where there's some cultural appropriation. For instance, you have women that wear African Bantu knots and stuff like that, white women, or cornrows and stuff like that, appropriating Black culture. You do have situations like that. But you don't have, it's rare that you will have a situation where, you know, these white women are literally covering up their hair to wear, you know, an Afro wig, unless they're making mockery of black people or wearing locks or something like that. So it's just a question. It's just food for thought, man. So before I close out, I want to hear from you all. I want to hear what you all think about this. Of course, you know, again, I'm not saying that somebody can't speak on black issues or protest and all that stuff. Of course, you can do those things. And of course, I support women that do those things regardless of what kind of hairstyle they have. You know, there are women who have done great things in our history, even though they had perms and all that kind of stuff. And the great things that they did obviously are more important than what kind of hairstyle they had. But I think that at the end of the day, you know, the way we deal with ourselves is a reflection of our consciousness. If you are truly conscious, you won't feel the need to spend hundreds of dollars buying Indian hair or Chinese hair. It's really that simple. It's not even complicated. None of this stuff is complicated, but people try to make it much deeper than what it is. So with that, I'm going to look at your comments before I go. Again, I want to thank y'all for tuning in, and I wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. So let me see what people are saying before I sign out. Sister said, I feel that if you are pro-black, you should wear your hair in its natural state. Absolutely. Psycho said, I'm pushing my luck today between Team Jackson and the Weave Committee. He's asking for it. Yeah, I'm just keeping it real, man. I just saw the video and I just thought about that. And, you know, her video was legitimate. Like, she raised a lot of legitimate points. It was a very real, honest type of video. And that's something that's rare here on YouTube. And she made a lot of valid points. But on that weave issue, you know, I just take exception to that. And I just think that our women need to evolve in their consciousness. And a lot of women are part of the natural hair movement. And I salute those women and stuff like that. And I do, again, understand that hair alone does not define one's politics. Because then again, you have, you know, women and men, you know, women, for instance, walking around with naturals with a white man on their arm. And the same is true with these black guys. I see so many black guys with these long locks and they got a white woman on their arm and stuff like that. So obviously it's not just about the hair. And then you, for instance, you got this bootlicker on here, this, you know, whatever, I think her name is Bernie Tree, whatever. She has locks in her hair and she's on here cooning it up for these people and stuff. So obviously hair alone does not define one's politics, but it's something that has to be taken into consideration. You know, it is a reflection of a person's values and their own self-respect and dignity. So let's see what people are saying. Lady Think 24 said being pro-black does not does not put food on your table. So if you change your hair, do it. I guess you're saying that, like, for instance, if you work in corporate America or something like that, it may be difficult for you to even get a job or to, you know, move up the corporate ladder if you wear natural hair. And that's a very valid point because, for instance, you do see, like, for instance, on the news, like most of the newscasters have either weaves or wigs or very straight hair. You rarely will see a newscaster with a natural hairstyle. And the same, a lot of that is true in corporate America, but you do see some exceptions to the rule. And, you know, there are real issues around that. So, I mean, I understand what you're saying. What you're saying can't be dismissed. But you also do have plenty of people with you have some people with natural hair that are able to be the exception to the rule and who do work in these corporate environments with their own natural hair. Yeah, Psycho said spending money on weave don't put food on your table either. You know, Yeah, I mean, in fact, that takes away from money that you would have for, other things. I mean, from what I understand, these women spend hundreds of dollars on weave, man. And I understand like a woman trying to beautify herself, but why do you define your beauty by wearing foreign hair? Yeah, and then Confidence said, let these women on YouTube tell it they're not pro-black despite their rhetoric being pro-black. Yeah, I mean, and you hear that a lot. Like the first thing that a lot of these people do, and it's not just the women with the weave, it's a lot of black personalities here on YouTube. They don't want responsibility. They don't want accountability. They don't want anybody questioning them or whatever. So the first thing that they do is they disclaim leadership. That's one thing that they do. The other thing is to say that they're not pro-black. So you have, for instance, that Cynthia G character get on here and say she's not pro-black despite all this rhetoric that she puts out. And the only reason why she's saying is that is because she don't want people questioning her about her hairstyle or whatever, questioning her about her weave and other things. And then you have these leaders that don't want any accountability, so they tell you that you don't need black leadership and that they're not black leaders. Meanwhile, they're on here spouting their opinions, trying to influence people to embrace their ideology or to purchase their products and all that kind of stuff. They are leaders whether they want to be one or not. And they just don't want accountability, and we have to be the ones to hold them accountable. Yeah, I mean that's a good point. Like you don't need a hair weave to get a to make it in corporate America or just period. You don't need it. Yeah, and I keep hearing this whole thing about protective hairstyles. It's like, why do you need to cover up your own hair to protect your hair, man? I'm not understanding how that's protective. I'm not understanding how gluing something to your hair, to your head, is protecting your hair. A lot of times women lose their hair by gluing that stuff to their hair, gluing it to their scalp, and when they pull it out, it damages their hair. I mean, and a lot of these people, their hair is so damaged from wearing these weaves over and over again that they have no choice because they're losing their hair. They're becoming bald and they have to cover their hair. So it's like an addiction. They're forced to continue to buy weaves and wigs and all that kind of stuff because they're further damaging their hair. So I don't know about this protective thing. I just think that that's a convenient excuse that people use. And this programming starts from the time women are little girls, man. It's they got their relatives talking about their hair being so too nappy or too hard to manage, complaining about doing their hair, and then they sit through getting their hair combed out and it hurts and all that kind of stuff. So they're taught early to be ashamed of their African hair. And then we act all surprised that they wear weaves and stuff like that. So that's a good point that Big Game raises. Yeah, so Lady Think 24 said, I work in a predominantly white predominantly white arena, excuse me, and people get passed over for promotions and bonuses and whatnot. They look at you as unprofessional if you wear your natural hair. And that's true. I'm not denying that there are not situations like that. I mean, we saw what happened with even a wrestler, somebody that's just playing a sport. He had the ref tell him he had to cut his hair in order to play in the game. We had situations where kids were kicked out of school for wearing natural hair. People being told that their hair is too big, people losing their jobs because of their natural hair and all that kind of stuff. So it is a very real issue. It is a real issue. I'm not downplaying that, but then again, there are situations where people do wear natural hair and they're able to move up the corporate ladder and stuff like that. And, eventually we have to get to a point where we are employing ourselves. And I know it's far easier said than done. Like, if Black people were to own more businesses, they wouldn't have to worry about a white person telling them how they can and cannot wear their hair. But it's much easier said than done. And we need to fight for changes in the laws so that people won't be discriminated against based on their hairstyle. From what I understand, there was some court case that basically said that employers can discriminate against people because of their hairstyles. So we need to fight for changes in that way, through the legislature, both on the state level and on the federal level, to ensure that people are not discriminated against for wearing their natural hair. Shout out to Rosalind. Thanks for tuning in. She said that she started her natural hair journey years ago. Nappy hair is good hair. Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of mentality we need to embrace. Um, yeah, now it's like these women, like some of these women that are real popular, like these celebrities, you know, well, some of these celebrities, these B-list celebrities or whatever, and some of them are A-list, they bleach their skin, they get fake hair, they get nose jobs to change their African features. I mean, like, you've seen these pictures with Little Kim after she got this, skin bleaching and all this stuff. She is unrecognizable. She looked virtually like a white woman. That's what she looked like. Yeah, and it's no disrespect, to Paris or anything like that. I just want to be perfectly clear. It's no disrespect. It's just about the particular issue in question. That's what it's about. That's what we're talking about. Um, Psycho said he knows tons of professional women with natural twists who do fine in the corporate world. Yeah, so I just wanted to hop on here for a minute and share my quick thoughts about this. Tell me what you think. Can somebody be pro-Black and wear weave? Do you agree or disagree with what I said, and why? With that, I want to say peace and blessings to each and every one of you. Again, I hope that you all have a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, a Happy Kwanzaa. Peace.